I think we're ready. Are we good to go? Yes. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Real Reds Talk. As you can see in the title, we have 6 contracts, 1 decision, basically 6 contracts at Manchester United coming to an end, which include big names like Cristiano Ronaldo, Marcus Rashford, Diego Dallo, and a few others in there as well. But which one would you extend and why? Let us know in the comments section as I go through this story. We've also recently received news that our game against Leeds on Sunday is cancelled, along with Chelsea versus Liverpool as well. I'll get your guys' thoughts on that shortly again for your opinion on that. Erik ten Hag has been impressing board members at Manchester United with his methods in training and his discipline. We're going to do a quick review on the new signings in Casemiro and Antony, and there's a little segment on Christian Eriksen. He's done an interview and there's a few quotes I want to dive into there. So before we dive into that, guys, and the topics mentioned, if you are new to the channel, if you are new to the channel, and you like the content, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like the video, you absolute legends. The channel is getting bigger and bigger every single day, and that's because of you lot. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. Let's just see if anyone's currently in the chat right now. Let's see. Let's have a look. Let's see if who we got in the chat. Talk to me. 1 second. Just having a quick look. Yeah. Throw your questions in as I go through everything. Give us your opinions, more importantly. So the first one I'm going to dive into is a massive story. Basically what the thumbnail is all about. It's the big boy. Manchester United have 6 contract decisions to make in the next 4 months. They all end in 2024, or I think the end in 2023, but you have an extension to extend it for another year or so. I just want to say from the start, in general, I don't think that there's any players nailed on here where I'd be like, yep, give him an extension. Yep, he deserves it. He deserves it. I think most of them need to prove that they can stay consistent, maybe for a couple of seasons, because we've had, kind of 1 year wonders like Luke Shaw, for example, before the Euros and during the Euros, where he was Shawberto Carlos, and then he went missing again. And he's been at the club for, I think, for about 8 years now. Let me know if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure he's been at the club for about 8 years, and he's had 1 or 2 decent seasons. Does that warrant a new contract? Not for me. Absolutely not for me. Like some Marcus Rashford, again, he's had a good few seasons at United, but overall, it's been a very mixed bag. He's been another very inconsistent player. And then you dive into ones like Fred and Dallo, and then it starts getting a little bit dicey. So, look, it's very debatable. And then you look at Cristiano Ronaldo, the age he's at the minute. Do you want to go into that? Do you want to extend it another year, given the thing that's going on, during the summer and stuff? So I'm going to dive into Ronaldo as well, but I kind of want to start from the top, and David De Gea being one of them. The question I instantly kind of ask is David De Gea the keeper Ten Hag sees in the future? We talk about this, the style eventually Ten Hag wants us to play, which is similar to what Ajax were playing, with that high line, proactive football, possession-based. You want that sweeper keeper. You want a keeper who's very good at distributing from the back. And for me, David De Gea isn't that guy. It really isn't that guy. I think eventually he will get a new keeper in. I don't think he did it this summer because it isn't a massive priority in regards to, if you look at, the other positions that we needed to kind of sort out, the keeper wasn't top priority. So I think it will be something that Erik ten Hag is looking at, but I don't think it'll be something he addresses immediately. I think that's a position he'll probably look at to address in a couple of years' time or whatever, or maybe a year's time. It's a massive decision to make. He's going to be extremely hard to sell because I think he's the highest paid keeper in Europe. You're talking, he's on about 375k a week. And if you look at all the top teams in Europe right now, there isn't a team out there who needs a really good keeper. I look at Madrid, who've got Courtois. Barcelona have got Ter Stegen. Man City obviously got Edison. Liverpool got Alisson. There's probably a couple out there you'd be like, maybe they'd take David De Gea. But with the wages that he's on and the fee they'd pay for him, I don't see him moving. unless he has like a year left on his contract and there's a little bit of wiggle room there to negotiate with the contract and stuff. Knowing United, we'll probably end up loaning him out and paying half his wages because that's what we usually do. You look at what happened with even Eric Bailly, who recently went. He's gone for on loan. I'm not sure if we're paying his wages or not, no, to be fair, but the transfer fee for that is extremely low. You're talking if Marseille get Champions League football, we're going to sell everybody for like 5 to 7 million, which is just like it's absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, interesting ones with David De Gea. We'll see what happens with that. Another one of the players is Diego Dallo. Obviously, he's looked great under Eric Ten Hag recently. Even Ragnick, I think we all remember when Ralph Ragnick came in, he was the most improved player under him and he looked really good. And you can see why coaches want to work with him. You can see why Mourinho wanted him in the first place. And he's slowly becoming, he's improving, he's getting better and better. But I still think there's games where he has lapses of concentration and he's vulnerable defensively. I'm disappointed we didn't sign someone like a Dumfries to bring in that competition, provide that competition for Dalot because I think he needs it. And I don't think Aaron Wan-Bissaka is going to provide that, in order for him to push on more. There's still a lot to improve on with Dalot, but offensively, he's great. He's very proactive. He's exactly what Ten Hag wants. And you can see that, couldn't you, from, even before he came in, there was quotes surrounding Dalot from a lot of credible journalists saying Eric Ten Hag loves the player. He really wants to work with him. He will be the main right back. All this kind of stuff coming out. And then you can obviously imagine as a player, you love hearing that and you're like, right, I'm committed. I'm committed. I want to stay. I'm focused. And that can only be positive going forward. And let's see how he develops, how he improves. Can he break that level? Can he get to that Trent? Not Trent in a minute. He's having a fucking stinker this year. Let's have it out. But like a Reece James, a Cancelo, a Walker, top echelon right backs even in Europe. Can he reach that level? I'm not entirely sure yet. I'm not sure how high Dalot's ceiling is, but I do think he suits the system that Ten Hag wants to play, and he's young enough. So there's room there. I just don't know. I wouldn't definitely say, yeah, put my hat on it and give him an extension. Let's see how he gets on this season. Opposite flank swing, we've got Luke Shaw, is another one of the players involved in this kind of category. 6 players, big contract extension. For me, Luke Shaw, this is Luke Shaw's last year for me. Similar to what Aaron said about Anthony Martial, he's got 1 year left for me because, again, he has proved he can play at the very, very top level, but he's so in and out and he's so inconsistent. I don't think he's worthy of a new big contract for giving us 6 months solid performances out of, how long has he been here? 8 years? So is it worth giving an extension for another 2-3 years? Because he isn't getting in the team in a minute. Malacia's took his place. Malacia's come in from Feyenoord with not a massive reputation, low transfer fee, and he snatched his place completely off him. Just took it off him like a baby and was like, no, this is my spot, mate. You're going to have to take this back off me now. I know he was supposed to start, I think, against Real Sociedad, but he had a bit of an injury issue, I think, something to do with his foot. And that's another thing with Luke Shaw. He has injuries quite a lot, in and out. Like, you don't want that. You need to progress as a team. You need someone who's available 24/7 and plays, gives you an 8 out of 10, 24/7. Does Luke Shaw fit that bracket? Let me know in the comment section because he doesn't for me. Another player, we've got Fred, 29, turning 30, squad player for me. So if he was to get a contract, I certainly wouldn't be offering stupid money and wouldn't be promising or giving him false promises like we're seeing managers before do. So I would say to Fred, look, you're going to be a squad player. I'll give you a little bump on your wage, but that's it. That's all I'm giving you. I'm not actually sure if the wages can improve with it being an extension. I think you just kind of agree and then you stay on the same wages. So to be fair, I don't think wages would be an issue, but just make sure you're doing the right thing. Like I said, 29, turning 30. Is Fred going to be pivotal in your plans? Hopefully not as a number 10 like we saw in Real Sociedad, because that was absolutely dreadful. So yeah, I don't mind Fred as a squad player, but that's all. Nothing more. I think Eriksen, Casemiro, and Bruno will be our midfield eventually, or even McTominay. Who knows these days? Fuck knows. Let's see if we've got anyone in the chat commenting. Let's have a look. Vincent Bullock's in the chat. Hi, Vincent Bullock. Big up yourself. We've got Shreyas, Dan, Lewis. Big up on yourselves as well. Get involved. Let me know what you think about these contract extensions. Another player on the list was Marcus Rashford. Now, this is a tricky one because there is a slight bias with Marcus being from Manchester. You always kind of want him to succeed. Well, maybe I kind of want him to succeed, maybe more so than the foreign players that we signed. Just he's from the same area. He does things around the community. You will have that slight bias. And if Ten Hag can get a really good player out of him, if he returns to the player we know this season, performs at a top level, I think that there's a player there that you can, for another 4, 5, 6 years. How old's Marcus Rashford? 24, 26, something like that. There is a player you can certainly work with there 100%. So Marcus Rashford's a very interesting one under Ten Hag. I've seen a lot of quotes with Ten Hag suggesting, we could see him as a number 9, as an elite starting number 9, which is mental to think, because I remember watching games under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Ragnick when he's tried him as a 9 and just been like, he can't play with his back to goal. He's not that guy. He can run in behind when his space. He's a good counter-attacking player. But when you've got an 11 players in front of you, or 2 banks of 4, and you've got to break them down, he's not the best. But maybe Ten Hag can adapt that. Maybe he can work on his game and refine him a bit, because he's certainly great at that. Ten Hag's got a reputation, of coaching these players who people think are done. You look at someone like a Dusan Tadic, who obviously plays a similar position to Rashford on the left-hand side. And look what he did with him at Ajax. I think he had something like 170 goal involvements in 190 games, which is just phenomenal. And obviously that's including big performances at the Bernabeu against Real Madrid, big performances in the Champions League. So Ten Hag has got that pedigree of coaching players, and hopefully does that with Rashford. The last player I want to touch on, in regards to contract extensions, is Cristiano Ronaldo, the big one. In my personal opinion, I think it's best for both if he leaves at the end of the season. Maybe he can go back to where it all started at Sporting Lisbon, continue that Champions League kind of goal spree, which is he like 10 or 15 in front of Lionel Messi? And I think in the back of his head, he's really thinking about that record. Think over the past 17 years, he's been working on that. Whenever he's can't remember what year his debut was in the Champions League, but I imagine it's probably 17 years, 18 years that he's been playing in there, getting that record up and up and up. He's obviously at the very top, and he doesn't want that to be tarnished by spending a season at United when we're playing Europa League. Messi's at PSG scoring goals. Maybe that's playing at the back of his mind. So he obviously made it very clear in the summer that he wanted to leave. He didn't want to stay. And I think he will get his wish at the end of the season. And maybe he can ride off into the sunset with Sporting Lisbon, keeping that Champions League record, and returning home, obviously, to his nation, Portugal. So, obviously, with Cristiano, I wish him the very best. Sometimes I feel like people feel like I go in on him a bit, or it's not that. I just feel like if we're trying to create a future and we're trying to put this image under Ten Hag, I don't see Cristiano being a part of that, unfortunately, just because of his age profile, the style of play he is. I don't think he fits Ten Hag's system. So I think he could go to another team, easily get 20 goals. Like a Sporting Lisbon. Imagine how many goals he'd get in the Portuguese league if he's playing for Sporting Lisbon. And he'd still be scoring in the Champions League. So I think Cristiano would be happy with that. I think we'd be happy with that. Maybe some fans wouldn't be. And I don't want it to seem like it's slander, because listen, I remember, if you guys remember Match magazines, I had like a picture of Cristiano when he was at Sporting Lisbon, noodle haircut, graveyard teeth, stuck on my wall. I was obsessed with him as a kid. I used to put gel in my hair and wear the wristbands like him. I used to play like him, like skillful, do all the tricks, jog a minute, all that kind of stuff. I absolutely adored him as a player. So, when he came back last season, scored that brace against Newcastle, I think in the first game, I was just like, oh my God, he's back. Oh my God, we're going to win the league. And I kind of overhyped it and overplayed it in my head. And ultimately now we're at a point in the season where it just doesn't fit the mold that we're trying to do. It's not this. We're on different paths. Do you know what I mean? And I think you take the 2 cars off the one road, you put one onto a junction, one goes this way, we go our separate ways. I think that'd be best. So I wouldn't extend it unless he's happy to play like he is doing now, putting a performance off the bench, give us a big goals and big games, because Ten Hag isn't starting him. So I think it'd be best if both went like that, kind of rolled off into the sunset. So yeah, they're the 6 big players he was talking about: David De Gea, Diego Dallo, Fred, Ronaldo, Rashford. about extending the contracts. Let me know who you would go for or who you would extend. Let's have a look. If he leaves Manchester United, I do not wish Cristiano is the best. He will be a sinner against the club again. Therefore, we need punishing for his sins against the great Manchester United. I'm not entirely sure I understand that, but football's all about opinion. 567, big up Shreyas. Dalot could become a solid fullback under Ten Hag. He's showing these signs. Need to trust him for a while till he develops. Yeah, it's going to be a learning process. There's going to be games where, like the one against Villarreal, basically where he was just had a bit of a stinker, didn't he? Dan Juma pulled his pants down and was all over him. He's going to have games like that. Things like that's going to happen. Like I said, it's a learning process, and we'll see how he develops under an elite coach who's great at developing players. I want to move it on. Some other more breaking news surrounding Manchester United in regards to the game against Leeds. Apparently, it is called off due to policing reasons for the Queen's funeral, which is on Monday in London. I think Chelsea and Liverpool's game has been called off as well. And look, this might be a hot take. People might not agree with me, but this makes absolutely no fucking sense to me. I have to be honest. I don't understand why they did it with last weekend's fixtures. I was a bit like, I was questioning it because you've got rugby that's carrying on. You had, I think, cricket, they were still doing it, but they just kind of wore like black armbands and did a minute silence. So why couldn't football do that? I'm sure she was a fan of sport, so I'm sure she would have just wanted football to carry on. I think the Premier League did it to have something in the bag there to be like, oh look, we've cancelled it in respect. I think that's why they've done it, because they said it's down to their discretion if they do want to do it. So I think that's why they've done it. Another point I wanted to put out there as well, and again, this is a hot take. People might not agree with it. People might think you're a prick for saying this, but we have had fucking thousands of war heroes that have done more for this country than any monarch has. And all they get on Remembrance Day or whatever is black armband and a minute's silence. So why does the Queen deserve any fucking more than that? Answer me that question. Anyone. I don't care if you're a royalist. I don't care if you're anti-monarchy. Answer me that question. Why does she deserve any more than that? You know, it's a genuine question. I don't understand it. On a side note as well, the amount of money that funeral is going to cost and the amount of money the coronation is going to cost, it's probably going to cost around £20 million. £20 million. And again, call me insensitive, call me stupid. I'm sure that money could be put to better use, solving hunger and medical conditions all around the world. If you disagree with what I'm saying, let me know in the comment section. But these thoughts coming to me now, I'm getting a little bit annoyed with it, to be honest. But yeah, I'm not in charge. I'm not in power. So it is what it is, and we move on. So we won't have a game against Leeds on Sunday. We will still play Sheriff on Thursday night in the Europa League because European games are going ahead. But they have postponed Liverpool versus Chelsea, which should be at Chelsea's ground, I think, and they've stopped United versus Leeds because there won't be enough police to kind of police the area because they'll all be at the Queen's funeral. So yeah, no football, no Premier League football for us. I don't know when they will be rescheduled. I think it's January the 17th and 18th. They're the dates they're kind of looking at, or they're the only kind of dates available. Because don't forget, we have a World Cup this year at the end of this year, November and December. So that period is super congested, which means all the busy games that we would usually have in November, December, they have also been moved as well. So the fixtures are absolutely jam-packed. Yeah. Right, I want to dive into some of the stuff Samuel Luckhurst has been writing about because I'm fed up about talking about what I've just been talking about. I'm not fed up. That's the wrong word to use. I'm just, yeah. The more I say, you remember Jose Mourinho has said, if I speak, I'm in trouble. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I want to dive into some stuff Samuel Luckhurst has been writing about in regards to Erik Ten Hag. So I'm going to read out a few quotes. Let me know what you think in the comment section. He says, Ten Hag has overseen wrong-footed training sessions with members of the United squad. He's placed an emphasis on strengthening the weaker foot of certain players in drills conducted after the squad's main sessions. Let's get a swig of this. My throat's dry as fuck. Um, Luke Shaw is believed to be one of the United players who has participated in the sessions to strengthen his right foot. Bit of an odd one, to be honest. It's not really something we think about a lot, is it? But it's certainly very important. I think you see players like Ericsson and Kevin De Bruyne, and the reason why they're so fantastic and dangerous is because they are comfortable on either foot, whether that's passing, shooting, dribbling. They are comfortable, so they cause multiple problems times two because they can do it on the left or they can do it on the right. And I think it can only be an improvement if you get every other United player to that standard. A certain player who I won't mention for obvious reasons was great at that left foot, right foot with ease. And like I said, it can only add to your game, and I think that's great. Great work from Ten Hag on the pitch. I'm trying to think if there's anything that stuck out in regards to on the pitch where I've been like, you can tell he's not gone onto that side because of his weak foot. I'm looking the likes of Marcus Rashford when he plays on the right wing, and he's very one dimensional. Same with Anthony Elanga as well. You rarely see him cutting in on the left to put a cross in or to get a shot in. They rarely do it. So defenders always know where you're going to go. Do you know what I mean? Anthony's a little bit like that as well. He's very one footed. So I think if you can develop that side, you give defenders another thing to kind of think about and a little worry in the back of the head, and it keeps them guessing. So I'm all for it. I kind of think as well, out of all our players in United's team, who stands out? Who's come? Obviously, I mentioned Christian Eriksen, then he's kind of an obvious one. But who stands out? Who you look at? Who's really good on both feet, and you're like, yeah, he's not many, to be honest. Marcus Rashford's very one-footed. Jadon Sancho's all right on both, but Anthony's very one-footed. Elanga's very one-footed. Ronaldo's great with both, I think. I'd admit that. Fred is very one-footed. I know he scored goals with his right foot and stuff, but let's be honest, it's not very often, and you get the odd time where you're like, whoa, where the fuck did that come from? But he is very one-footed as well. So we've only got a select kind of few players where you're like, yeah, they're comfortable any areas of the pitch on both feet. They can receive it in tight areas. The press resistant. I think all these kind of things add to your palette when you're a Ten Hag player. So, like I said, it can only be a bonus. Some other more comments. Can't speak today. Some more comments, sorry, on Ten Hag. In fact, what I'll do is I'm gonna dive into the comments in the chat. Let's have a look. Chelsea versus Liverpool called off as well. We all know why it's not going to policing. Players and fans are not considered with this decision is taken. Players will have to play 3 games a week or 2 more weeks. What about money people have spent for these weekend plans? Exactly, Dan. Nick Macabarino. Yeah, I'll take that. New nickname. I've had Ragnick before as well. Ralph Ragnick. I'm getting my own little palette of coach names there. We signed 3 left-footed players: Malacia, Martinez, Antony. Not sure Dubravka's left-footed. All right. Yeah, me neither. Me neither. So I've just got off that. Sorry. Let's dive into a few more comments. I keep saying comments from Ten Hag. They're not comments from Ten Hag. It's quotes from Samuel Luckhurst. This is an article that he's written about Ten Hag. And he said, Ten Hag has been described as unforgiving of poor professionalism, sloppiness, or lack of effort. And his decisiveness with team selections has been welcomed by some players who felt missiled by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Ten Hag has impressed figures at United. Sources say the club has quickly bought into his ideas. Ten Hag has balanced his personable nature with disciplined management that has kept those at Carrington. So saying he's got a really nice blend there when it comes to management. Look, I really like what I'm seeing from Erik Ten Hag so far. I don't want to speak for all Manchester United fans, but the vibe I get from speaking to people, obviously speaking to people on the channel, it feels like we are moving in the right direction now, finally, after years of heartbreak, years of disappointment, years of poor performances, years of leaks coming out of the club. It feels like Ten Hag's coming now and he's nipped it in the bud. Or as Adam would say, he's nipped it in the butt. He has just come in, installed discipline, the right attitude. Every player he's signed, you look at recruitment as well. Let's not pretend the recruitment that we've done is a genius of the board, and these are the players we was looking at in our scouting system. Players like Malacia, Casemiro, Antony. We weren't looking at these players before Ten Hag came in. All these players that we signed are because of Ten Hag, and when you look at the recruitment over the past 10 to 12 years, You can probably name on one hand how many people have been successful. How many, like, you look at Bruno Fernandes, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Ronaldo to a certain extent. Ten Hag's come in and done that in one season. Malacia looks really good. Young, still a little bit rough around the edges, but he's took Luke Shaw's spot off him. He's a starter for us straight away. 15 million. We talk about these rough gems around Europe. Malacia's come in and smashed it out of the park. Lisandro Martinez has been phenomenal. I mean, the spirit, the warrior spirit that he brings, the discipline again, the giving absolutely everything is contagious to the rest of the team. The partnership he's developed with Rafael Varane at centre back, we've looked a lot more confident, and then that breeds confidence throughout the full team. Antony, only 2 games in, it's hard to discuss. I'm going to talk about Antony and Casemiro in a second, but Antony, it's hard to discuss, but kind of scored on his debut. Looks like he's going to be a good player. Ten Hag's obviously coached him to the player he is today, so that looks promising. Christian Eriksen, again, who I'm going to touch on a little bit later, and I've already spoken about to a certain extent, has low-key been one of the best signings of the summer. And I'm not just talking about Manchester United, I'm talking period. This summer has just gone. Think of all the players that have moved. Christian Eriksen has low-key been one of the best signings, and he has been nothing short of great since he's been in our team. If we have a starting 11 now without Christian Eriksen, there's a lot of eyebrows raised. And before he came in, a lot of people were saying he will be the replacement for Bruno. When Bruno isn't fit, or when Bruno's, has an off game and he needs to be taken out, Eriksen will be there to replace him. But he's actually come in the team, made Bruno look better, made everyone around him look better, and he's been a creative force, and he's just been a breath of fresh air. He's been incredible. So that's another signing that's hit the ground running. And because Ten Hag had worked with him at Ajax before, that is the reason why he brought him in. Before I dive into the rest, let's see if there's any comments in the chat. Exhibit signed Fabian Ruiz. Fabian Ruiz is a great player. He is a great player. I'm echoing there. Yeah, Fabian Ruiz, great shout. Hasn't he moved to PSG though? Exhibit. I'm pretty sure he has. But yeah, he's a very good player. Yeah, going back to Ten Hag, discipline, attacking threat, good recruitment, ding, 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 dong. I'm happy with it. And I can't wait to see the future with Eric Ten Hag. I think we're going in the right direction. Seems like the more control Ten Hag gets over this club, the better it is. He's very meticulous, intelligent, hardworking, disciplined. He's exactly what we needed at the right time. And long may it continue. Speaking about the 2 signings I was talking about before with Antony and Casemiro, this again is from Samuel Luckhurst. He has said Antony and Casemiro are understood to have increased the intensity in United training and impacted competition for places. This was always a point under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. When Maguire put in a stinker, or when Luke Shaw put in a stinker, or when he would constantly play McTominay and Fred, there was question marks, even from players within the squad, saying, why are they still playing when they put in poor performances on a daily basis? Why are they still in the squad? They've had 5 bad games in a row. Or the situation with Harry Maguire when he was injured, Ollie played him at Leicester. Bailly was there fit, and he was playing well, and he didn't put him in. He'd rather put an injured Harry Maguire. Imagine that. An injured Harry Maguire over Eric Bailly. So when you have things like that, you don't breed natural competition, and competition breeds success. You have to have. This is why Man City runs so well, because if you take off Kevin De Bruyne, you could put Bernardo Silva there. You could put Gundogan there. You could put Foden there. Under Ole, if we took, Luke Shaw off at the time, we had Telles, and Telles initially giving that kind of kick up the arse, but they're not nowhere near that level of a Cancelo, Walker. You can name the rest of the City squad. So I think this is what Ten Hag bringing in Antony and Casemiro. Players have been looking around the back now thinking, oh shit. Players like Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, Elanga. Elanga shouldn't be in the squad anyway. He should be a rotational player, or even go out on loan. We've discussed this many times on the channel before. But they were looking over the shoulder now thinking Antony's going to start. He's a shoo-in to start under Ten Hag. He's obviously worked with him before. Big price tag. He ain't going to be a bench player. So that's one position gone straight away. Sancho, again, another massive price tag. promising, 21 years old, pushes another player out. So this then makes players work hard and naturally to try. Like, you're not taking my jersey off me, mate. And they work harder. It went absolutely stale under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So Ten Hag bringing in these players that have hit the ground running can only be positive. Again, do I think signing these players anything has surprised me? I would say yeah. I'm very surprised that if you was to ask me now on form, who would I start out of Casemiro and McTominay? I have to say McTominay. Honestly, at the minute, I'm not saying by any stretch of imagination McTominay is a better player than Casemiro, but I feel like Casemiro still needs to develop and get used to the pace of the Premier League. And McTominay against Arsenal, a good few games before that, looked really good. Really, really good. So in form at the minute, Casemiro needs time to develop and adapt. Maybe it's a similar thing with Anthony, and he won't be a shoe-in at the start to start every single game. But I think eventually they will both come into it and they'll be starters. But I'm impressed. I'm impressed with the attitude Anthony's got. I think he's tried hard a little bit, maybe, but you've got to love it, kissing the badge, scoring against Arsenal on his debut, but you can't have a much better start than that. And Casemiro looks class. He's had cameos where I've looked at him and think that he breeds calmness in the team. Goes back to what I was saying before about when Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, Luke Shaw, and Lindelof with the back line. It just makes you feel nervous. Even when you see the team line up before a game, you're like, oh, I don't know. It's coming up against Benteke today, or it's coming up against this player today. I'm not sure if they'll do well. Now there's no doubt in your mind. You're like Lissandro and Varane will do the bits. Casemiro comes into that and he's an elite DM, and he can only improve that squad. But it will take time for him to get used to the pace of the Prem. And I was actually surprised no other club went in for him. Obviously, Anthony's price tag's a bit off-putting, so I understand that to a certain extent. I think we paid like 85 mil, something like that. So I couldn't understand why no players went in for him. But Casemiro available for 60 mil. I think it was just the wages that was like, yeah, I'll sign at United. Because I don't see a lot of teams offering a 30-year-old 300 grand a week, to be honest. But this is what United do. Let's have a look at some more comments then. Big up everyone in the chat. Exhibit, yeah, we take too long for De Jong. A missed chance to sign Fabian Ruiz. He's versatile mid, pivot, DM, deep line playmaker, attacking, even supports a striker. Yeah, like I said, I'm a massive fan of him. Pimp My Ride is rubbish. Exhibit, can you pimp my ride, please, photo? That's why you're here. I don't think it's that Exhibit, but big up yourselves to the regulars in the chat. Chelsea versus Liverpool, United versus Leeds is off. That's from Mark Ogden. Yeah, that's been confirmed there from Dan. Thank you for that. And against a team with good midfield, I'll play two pivots. Casemiro, McTominay, and Eriksen, Bruno. I'm not sure how you're going about that there. Then against a team with low defense line, I'll play one pivot with Eriksen and Bruno. All right, I get what you're saying. Yeah, maybe he will. That's how he'll do it. He'll adapt and he'll work with it. Like he said, Ten Hag keeps repeating this point where it's a very long season. There's going to be a lot of games to kind of get through. So you're bound to see shitloads of combinations in the midfield this season. You will see every combination. You'll have Mick Casemiro. You'll have Fred Eriksen. You'll have loads of combinations. So, and then it'll take time to see which one is truly the best. I think eventually it will be Casemiro, Eriksen, Bruno. I think Eriksen works fine as that floating eight, provides a lot of creativity, covers more distance than anyone, by the way, at Manchester United. Casemiro will be that calm influence who's the anchor, who sits just in front of the back four. And then you'll have Bruno Fernandes, who works, higher up the pitch, and is that creative force there. So I think that'll be a really nice balance if they go into that. And just sticking with Christian Eriksen. This is the last thing I wanted to touch on. Just a few quotes from himself. He says, Brentford wanted me to stay, but I would say where I am in my career, I had the opportunity to step up to what I had dreamed of and hoped for. I wanted to kickstart my career by coming to an even bigger club, obviously Manchester United. And he says he succeeded. United is one of the biggest clubs in the world. It was a redemption after what had happened earlier, and like proving that you could get an offer from United. It was great. It's a huge club. I've joined. My throat is so fucking dry. Let me just, you swallow, you're like, absolutely. Oh, there we go. Heaven. Yeah, so a few quotes from Christian Eriksen there. Just a question to you guys. How fucking good has Christian Eriksen been since he's come in? Honestly, I think out of all the signings that we've had, he has made the biggest impact. He's been absolutely phenomenal. Um, his creativity, breaking the lines, playing through balls, he's just been an absolute game changer. And now all of the responsibility isn't just on Bruno Fernandes. You know them set games on the roller that you'd watch and you see Bruno, and once he shut Bruno down, it was like if Pogba weren't playing, sometimes Pogba could be that the next guy along who could provide something, but everyone would look at Bruno, they'd shut Bruno down, and then they would let McTominay and Fred have the ball, and you know they ain't playing them breaking the line passes, especially when they was under Ole. So they relied heavily on Bruno. Now Eriksen's come in, it's like, oh shit, we can't really let him have the ball, but then we can't really let like Eriksen, and then like, do you know what I mean? It's shared responsibility, and them two work together so well. They find space. I think you see that for I think the third goal against Arsenal, where it was a bit naive by Arteta to do it. He took off his wing backs and then tried still playing the high line with like three centre backs pushed right up. Bruno receives it in like a deep pocket on the right hand side. Eriksen makes a run from deep and assists Rashford for the goal. And it's that link up. You've seen it a good few times. I can't remember like off the top of my head at the minute, but it's been a few times where I've seen Eriksen and Bruno link up in important situations, and we've got a goal from it. So them two work really well together, and that relationship can only get better the more they kind of play together. Really, so exciting times for the season. I think he could be a candidate for Player of the Year. It's still very early days. We've played what 7 games, 8 games, including Europe, so it's very early. But him and Lissandro have been incredible for me. I called it with Lissandro as well. I said ages, even before we was ever linked with Lissandro Martinez, this is a player we should be looking at. Ajax got him for very cheap. He's a warrior. He's for 5'9". He's great in the air. He's got captain qualities, and I think he'd be a great signing. And you know, luckily we ended up signing. I don't think he was the first choice. I think he wanted to go for Yuri and Timber, but we'll obviously end up with Lissandro, and he's been great as well. So him and Eriksen are candidates for Player of the Year at the minute, even though it's only 5, 6, 7 games in, whatever. I think they both look phenomenal. Best signing of the summer for United, 100%, and one of the best signings of the summer in general, I think, especially in the Premier League. You look at the business that teams have done. Christian Eriksen is low-key gone under the radar, and I think there'll be a lot of clubs in Europe now and in the Premier League looking at it thinking, why did we not go in for him? Free agent, coming from Brentford, no disrespect to Brentford, but if someone top half of any table in Europe goes in for him, you'd think you put good chance of getting him. There'll be a lot of teams now, especially in the Champions League, looking at thinking he could have done a really good job for us. He's not on massive wages. He's not, he's not a bougie player, is he? Do you know what I mean? He'd be like 100 grand, 120 grand's fine. He cracks on, covers distance more than everyone, both footed. He's been absolutely amazing. And we signed him on a free. We signed him on a free as well. He's absolutely amazing. A few more. I'm gonna get into a few more comments and then I'm gonna head off, guys. So let's have a look. Fred only good in the national team. It's a weird one with Fred, isn't it? Because he has had the odd good game, but he's another player who's nowhere near consistent enough. Fred cannot start now after that last game full of Nick's gulp of whiskey. I'm concerned about midweek games where Fred will be playing. Eriksen is average, good pass, good vision, good pace. It's not great. Whoa, I think that's harsh. I think that's very harsh. I think he's been great since he's come in. And I think a lot of clubs around Europe, I'd like to add him to the squad as well. United third goal against Arsenal, 5 players attracted by Ronaldo. You can see it on the replay. Yeah, he was like a magnet, wasn't he, Ronaldo? He stepped in, they all like went towards him. I think that's why it was naive by Arteta, because Ten Hag made that sub. Arteta brought us Zinchenko, and I can't remember who the other one was. It went very narrow in the middle. They pushed up, and then Eriksen and Rashford just went, see you, mate, boom, right in behind, and absolutely killed him. He creates massive hole on the left side. Best signing all time, only 3: Ronaldo, Vidic, and yeah. Look, if you're talking all time, then he's not going to be in the conversation, obviously. But I'm just mean this summer. I'm talking about specifically. I think he's been the best one, to be honest. 1 second. So yeah, that is it, guys. Just watch update on this contract situation, extensions. Obviously, by the time January comes around, We're going to have to make some big decisions on the likes of Rashford, Ronaldo, Diego Dallo, Fred, David De Gea. What will happen with them? Let me know who you would give an extension to based on performances, based on opinion. And then obviously our game against Leeds has been postponed on Sunday. So there'll be no Premier League football this weekend, but we are still playing Sheriff on Thursday night. So we will have the preview on Wednesday night for that Europa League game, and we'll have the watch along on Thursday night as well. So at least there's some football midweek. We'll have the breaking news show for you tomorrow. As we know, with Manchester United, there's always a lot of things going on surrounding us. So we'll be live about 6:30 tomorrow, and then there won't be an FPL roundup on Friday because obviously the weekend just gone. We had no fixtures, did we? So we'll figure something out. We'll do something on Friday, content wise, and the same again over the weekend because there's no football. So we won't have a Leeds preview and we won't have a Leeds watch along, but we'll fill in with something and it'll still be as good content. So don't worry about that. Thank you to everyone watching. If you haven't subscribed already, please do like the video. Get your comments in the chat. My name is Nick, and we'll see you tomorrow, guys, for the breaking news show 6:30. Make sure you tune in. Peace.